We are the Eternals, born in times long forgotten to defend the Earth.
One of the biggest upcoming movies that's set to hit theaters in the late months of 2021 is the long-anticipated Eternals. There's a lot that people don't know about the Eternals, who exactly they are and what exactly they're about. So before you watch the Eternals, here's a couple things you need to know. Movie King here with more Marvel content. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell if you like the video. Now, let's get into it. The origin of the Eternals.
And battle the Deviants.
The Eternals were originally created by the impeccable comic writer Jack Kirby. We saw an introduction of the Eternals in the Marvel Universe in 1976 in the Eternals Volume 1, although a more recent rendition was made in 2006 by Neil Gaiman. The Eternals are a race of evolved humans that were basically created by the celestial beings of the Marvel Universe. There's a lot that I can say about the Celestials, but that's gonna need another video. A more succinct definition is that the Celestial are basically godlike alien beings that are also scientists. They came to the Earth 1,000,000 years ago and experimented on the life forms they found on Earth, and in doing so, they created new species from the primordial ape forms, the humans. The Deviants, a species that is genetically unstable and grotesque looking, and the Eternals, which are basically humans that look like supermodels, except they have cool powers and abilities like strength, telepathy, laser eye projection, and an eternal lifespan, hence their name Eternals. The Eternals were viewed as gods when they lived on Earth and amongst humans, though they were much more advanced not just in terms of evolution, but also in terms of their civilization. They had gone far in terms of their technological advancements. They built cities on mountaintops and spaceships capable of traveling to other planets, which they actually did. Some Eternals traveled to planets such as Uranus, where they became the Uranians, and to Titan, where they became the Titanians. That's right, guys, Thanos is actually an Eternal, which explains why he could use the 6 Infinity Stones, but he's not the traditional Eternal. He had the manifestation of some latent Deviants gene, hence the purple coloration of his skin. There are rumors of Thanos making an appearance in the movie too. The Eternals, though they look perfect, are riddled with flaws just like any human. They make mistakes, they fight each other, and one time upon hearing that the Celestials made them solely to fight an alien race known as the Horde and realizing that there was really no meaning to their existence. Other than that, they started committing suicides. So it's quite clear that the Eternals are an emotional race, and Marvel Studios has hinted that there will be some romance between the Eternal Icarus and another Eternal Circe. The Deviants. The Deviants are a group of modified humans with unstable genetics that provoke different forms and abilities. They are a race that has lived on Earth for millennia, and they are also technologically advanced, having good technology and resources at a time when mankind was still living in caves. Each generation of Deviants appears in new and monstrous ways, and they're essentially warlike in nature. In truth, several of Earth's monsters in myths and legends have actually been confirmed to be Deviants, which would mean that the Chupacabra and Thanos could be related. Okay, now I'm picturing Thanos joining a mariachi band and eating some guacamole. Unlike the Eternals, who took to residing in the mountains, the Deviants chose to stay in the center of the Earth, being the sole occupants of the continent of Lemuria. The Deviants are also known enemies of the Eternals and humans, as well as the Celestials, because they have attacked the Celestials at one point in time, but they are mostly enemies of the Eternals, which brings us to the plot of the movie. The plot. Even though The Eternals is set to be one of the biggest Marvel movies this year, not a lot is known about the plot and there hasn't been a definitive trailer yet, so we're not quite sure what it might be. But during the San Diego Comic-Con, Richard Madden, who is set to play the Eternal Icarus, said that the Eternals are a group of superpowered races sent by the Celestials to protect humans from the evil Deviants. With this definition given by an actor who's read the script, it's most likely that the plot is predicated on the Eternals coming together to face the Deviants. After the events of Avengers Endgame, and with an Eternal who has a recessive deviant gene being responsible for half the population of the universe being turned to ash, I think it's a compelling reason for the Eternals to come together to stand for good and fight for the Earth against more Deviants. Something else that I think is important to notice is its semblance of the Eternals in the MCU timeline. If you watch some of our previous videos, specifically in the upcoming superhero movie Blade, I talked specifically on how the MCU is fond of just dumping characters on us, with no real warning under the guise of, they've always been there. We saw it with the Sorcerers and Doctor Strange, and even with Captain Marvel. And from the plot synopsis, I guess that's what we'll be seeing with the Deviants and the Eternals. You just know that they're going to say that the Eternals have always been there, just on the low and doing their own thing. Or we might see Neil Gaiman's rendition of the Eternals, where he stated that the Eternals have been living on Earth with no recollection of who they were, but certain situations prompted them to remember their former self and recollect the things that they could do. And I guess if that is inculcated into the MCU timeline, it would explain why the Eternals have been absent during the events of Phase 1 through 3. Or it could just be that they've been living in their isolated civilization all this while, and now's the time that they finally decided to show face. The villains. We've already established the Deviants as the main antagonist, but they may not be the only antagonists. My reason for saying so is predicated on the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where we met Ego, who was identified as a Celestial, and as we saw, Ego was bad news with the whole expansion thing. And we also saw in Volume 1 during the scene with the Collector, where a Celestial used the Power Stone to level an entire city. The Celestials have also been known to judge planets, in attempts to ascertain if they are worthy to keep on existing. So with all that being said though, it's never really been stated in the comics, the Celestials might be the villains in this movie. Characters and release date. Thanks to the San Diego Comic-Con, we know a little bit about the cast of the Eternals, with Richard Madden set to play Icarus, who is a strong Eternal and the leader of this group. Angelina Jolie set to play Thena, who is one of the fiercest Eternals. Don Lee as Gilgamesh, who's the strongest Eternal and probably the most benevolent. Kit Harington, aka Jon Snow, to play Black Knight, a superhero who uses a mythical sword. Gemma Chan as Cersei, and a host of many others. If you want me to make a complete run on the details of each character, please let me know in the comments below. Anyway, remember to leave a like for this video. The movie was originally set to be released in November of 2020, but due to the pandemic, it's been moved to November of 2021. Well guys, that's it for this video. Let me know what you think about the Eternals in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye for now.